I would have never known Harry Roberson if I hadn't decided to raise buckwheat. And back in the mid-70s, I was experimenting with various small grains on the farm to see if there was something I could raise and sell for a profit. And every time I brought up the subject of buckwheat, everybody says, you need to talk to Harry Roberson. So that's what I did. I came over and sat in Harry Roberson's living room and talked to him sitting on his couch about grinding some buckwheat, and told him what I wanted to do, and he was willing to do it. So after that, I started bringing my buckwheat over in 96-pound sacks. That's 2 bushels of buckwheat. First in a 57 Buick station wagon, later on in a pickup truck. And Harry liked what I brought him, and I liked what I brought back, because I was able to sell it and actually make a profit. And of course, part of the profit in buckwheat was not that it sold for so much, but it cost so little to raise it. If you raise your own seed, it required very little fertilizer, and if you got a good stand, it took care of its own weed control. The only really tricky thing about it is trying to combine it. It was really hard to tell when the moisture was low enough to let that combine go through it without getting jammed up with too many stalks. And I remember the first year I raised it, I had too many weeds, and the guy that brought the combine over says, no, this is not going to work. The machine's going to jam up. He says, you need to get a binder in here. So back in the mid-70s, you could hire a binder in Floyd County. And so one came in and bound up the buckwheat in little bundles, which were dumped out in the field, and we made them up in stacks and capped them off and waited for weeks for it to dry, and then took it back and threw it in the combine to thresh it. And I remember I lost 10 pounds in 2 days bringing those bundles in.
Oh.
So fortunately, the next year I got it right, and I didn't have any weed problems. And this went on for about a decade, and farmers are inclined to eat what they raise, and I had buckwheat cakes every morning for about a decade that I cooked myself. And fortunately, once I cooked those buckwheats, I went to work, because if you'd have sat around, you'd probably got big as a barrel. And
Like me.
I remember Harry and I didn't discuss much, just farm stuff. He was a farmer, and a mail carrier, a barber, and he was my barber for quite a number of years. The only place I knew where you could get a haircut for $1. And I was really sorry when he closed the mill. He never told me why that happened, but I suspected that poor health had something to do with it. Anyway, I don't regret my buckwheat enterprise. I wish I was still bringing grain to the mill.